and welcome to the Book Bunch. My name is Sam and it's so great to have you guys here for another video. Sorry I look like a hot mess. I have been running around all day and didn't have quite enough time to pick myself up before this video, so my hair is a bit of a mess and I have my glasses in a different room and the annoying bugs are back. You'll probably have them in videos for at least the next month. I apologize on behalf of the bugs because it is summer here and it has been like ridiculously hot, like between 35 and 40 degrees Celsius, which is like somewhere around 100 degrees Fahrenheit. And they, like, Chris's mum, so my mother-in-law, has built like a beautiful like rainforest as her backyard, and it attracts these bugs that are just incessant during the summertime, and they're just constant. They're an ever-present noise, and I'm sorry. So hopefully you can't hear them too loudly in the video, but that's why they're there. I apologize again, but we're going to get into this video now, and it is a book unhaul because for you guys who did see, I redid my book situation in a recent video, and I did mention that I was going to do an unhaul, so this is that. I will also quickly tell you guys as well what is happening behind me. So this cart here is because all of these books are my to be read books. All of the books I have read are already in storage. So all of these books you see here are just ones I have not read yet. So I can't really give you recommendations on them yet, but they will be coming in future videos. This cart, black cart here, has all of my fantasy books that I plan on reading. Then in this shelf here is all science fiction, both Christian and just general. At the top is my box sets, and next to that is my middle grade reads that I want to get to. Then there is the Christian non-fiction in this shelf, and then below that is the just general non-fiction. And then there's two more shelves here that you can't quite see. One of them has classics in it, and the other one has basically a mix of every other genre that didn't have enough books in it to have its own shelf. So there's like a couple of crime books, a couple of contemporary, a couple of romance, that kind of thing. So that is the shelves, how they are organized. I know people were asking, and I completely spaced on telling you that in the last video. But there it is. If you have any questions, I'm very happy to answer them for you guys. But let's get into this unhaul. So first up is this Christian romance series that I picked up at a secondhand shop. I bought these intending on doing a video on like cheesy romance, and I had every intention of doing it, but they have been sitting on my shelf for a few months now, and honestly, if I really think about it, I don't think I'll ever actually get to reading these ones and doing that video. There's other cheesy Christian fiction books I'd much prefer to read instead and review instead. And the only reason I picked these up in the first place was because they were $1 each. So there's no harm done. They're going to be traded in at my trade-in bookstore. So if anything, I'll get a bit of money back on them. So I'm not mad about that. But that is the Texas Fortunes series. Then there is Wicked, my copy that has the green sprayed edges. I've held onto this book so long purely because of the green sprayed edges. I have never read Wicked, nor have I seen the musical. My parents did when Wicked first came out, like 8-9 years ago, and they absolutely loved it, and I do love Wizard of Oz, but I have had this book for about 5 years and never once had the actual desire to read it. So I don't think I'll ever get to it. If I do end up getting to it, I'm probably honestly just going to get the ebook, because I get it now, guys. I get the ebook love. I have been, for the last couple of weeks, reading a lot of ebooks, and when you're poor like I am and don't have money to buy hardcovers, but you really, really want to read a book, it is a great option because I can get the hardcover later. Like, well, not hardcover, the paperback, because I don't really buy hardcovers, but like the physical copy. I can get that later when I know that I really love the book. Like, there's already been a couple of ebooks I've read that I've been like, meh. So like, I don't care to buy the physical copy, but there's like a couple that, like Calor, for example, that I really, really love. And so I will definitely be getting a physical copy of that at some point. But right now I can't do that. And I'm about to move into a caravan, so having more physical books is not helping the situation. So I'll just save that for when I can do that. And I haven't missed out on reading the book. So I get the ebooks things. And as well, it is so much easier not bringing a physical book around with me everywhere that I'm reading, and I can just have it on my phone. I was in the waiting room at the doctor's today just reading my ebook, and it was so good. So I get it. I still prefer physical, like, for the experience, but for the convenience, ebooks is definitely a real option for me. Anyway, that was a tangent. Then there is 84K. This is a crime novel about a criminal audit office, and there's like murders happening and all sorts of stuff. I don't know. I bought it because I actually thought it was a sci-fi. It's not a sci-fi because by the cover, 84K, I for some reason thought it would be a sci-fi and it wasn't. Then I bought I'm Getting Rid of Apples Never Fall by Leanne Moriarty. I don't know how to say her last name. I bought this and I'm annoyed because I pre-ordered this. And it's a crime. She's a very famous author. I've never read any of her stuff. I've heard good things about this book. And it's about like family drama. And the good Lord knows I have enough family drama and I don't need more of that in my life. I don't need to dwell on that. It is an area of my life where I'm trying to improve, and families should be about love and joy, and I don't want to taint my mind with families that are not. So I have decided to get rid of it without reading it, even though it's in perfect condition. So there was that one. And another one that I bought, it's in perfect condition, never read, is Red Rising, because I bought this purely because of all the hype that I saw on Booktube about it a year and a half ago, when I really started getting into watching Booktube and just before I started my channel kind of thing. And everyone was raving about this book, and it's a dystopian, very similar vein to like Hunger Games and all that, all those bad boys. And I bought it because I was like, oh yeah, love that. But again, I'm in a position in my life where I'm past the dystopian phase. That had Teen Sam and that had its space. But if I'm being honest, I'm not going to get to this for a very, very long time. And I just don't want to carry it around with me. I don't have the physical or mental space for it. So I am getting rid of it. Again, it's being traded in, so I'm not going to lose money. But that is Red Rising. You guys might be mad because a lot of people really like that book, but there's that. Then there's Empire of Grass, and I'm so... Celestia, you know, girl, you know. We talked about this the other day because she also did an Unhaul video recently. Covers make me want to hold on to books that I'm not going to read. This is one of those. Look at this for a fantasy novel. This is freaking stunning. This artwork is beautiful. I want to be there. I want to be in this scene. But we did the Tad Williams things a couple of weeks ago, as you saw in one of my other videos for the Shadow March series. And this is a different one of his series. But I just don't, at least, I don't love Tad Williams. I really don't. And this is the second book in the series. If this is was the first one in the series, I would have kept it and read it. But this is the second one. So that requires me getting a copy of the first book, reading it, and then reading this book. And honestly, I don't like Tad Williams enough to hunt down the first book. I just don't. But yes, I did get this one secondhand, I think, which is amazing because this is in like pristine condition. So there's that. But I'm going to get rid of it. And there is the Library of Eva. Did a review on it. It was just okay, so I'm getting rid of it. Then I have the Hat Makers. This was unclean, so I'm getting rid of it. There's a few in here that are unclean. IQ 84, unclean. Super pissed off about this one. Sorry for my language. Because this is a 1,400 page book. So this would have been an epic read, and it's sci-fi. But like within the first like 50 to 100 pages, I think I ended up reading of it, it's unclean. And I was like, no, it makes me so mad. Another unclean. I did read this one, but if you guys saw my kind of ranty review of this, it was a waste of my time. So annoyed about that as well, because the idea of this was so awesome. It was so awesome. But it was unclean, so I can't deal. I'm not keeping that in my life, and I'm mad. I'm mad. Can you tell I'm mad? I'm mad. Then there is From Darkest Skies. This one I did read. I don't think it was unclean. You'd have to go back and check my video. But this is about a guy whose wife dies, and he is like a detective or something, and his wife dies, she's murdered, and he is moved to a different planet because of, like, he's so preoccupied with finding his wife's murder that he's like doing a bad job. And so they transfer him to a different planet, and he has like an AI of his wife. It's kind of weird, but that's how he's trying to grieve. And yeah, some stuff goes down. And the whole time the AI is like, you know, I'm not really your wife. Like, I'm never going to be your wife. You need to let her go. You need to get rid of me. And he's like, I can't. I'm not ready. But it was just a bit boring. Subpar sci-fi. I cannot remember if it's clean or not. I'm sorry. I don't think it was too bad, but you'd have to check my reviews. Sorry about that. Then there's Hyperion. This was unclean. This is a horrible book. Hated it. DNF'd it. Yeah, I don't even want to explain it to you guys because I hated it so much. But Hyperion was about, there's this planet called Hyperion, and there's this like god creature thing that all these people go on this pilgrimage to go worship, and they basically just get murdered by. And we follow this really weird team of people going on this pilgrimage, and you find out about their individual stories and what led them on this journey. And it's like the start of an epic kind of series. But the stories were very unclean, very inappropriate, didn't like them. And I also felt it did not sit well with my soul of how their god figure works or operates. So I didn't like it. Then there is Synapse, which, Celestia girl, we are on the same page here. We both read it, not together, didn't do a buddy read or anything. We read it separately. And it was just meh. It was just a meh. It was a meh. It's a Christian sci-fi, so it's still worth you giving a go, but it's like, yeah, it's only like a 3.5 out of 5 stars. So I would recommend maybe getting the ebook if you're interested, rather than the physical, and seeing how you like it from there, or even getting it from your library. But it just wasn't good enough for me to hold on to for the rest of my life. Because I also have high standards when it comes to holding on to books for the rest of my life. At this stage in my life anyway. And yeah, it was about this woman who is, like, the first scene is her having a stillborn, and she is a single woman who is in this world of like AI and robots and everything. So like most women don't even have their own kids. They're like grown in a lab, but you can choose to have your own kids. And she couldn't find a life partner, but she still wanted a kid. So she like had a donor, and yeah, her baby didn't make it, which was super sad and super trigger warning-y. So just be aware of that. And she's a minister. And she has this baby, but she's obviously trying to grieve this baby. And she also has issues with AI, but then her brother, who like is higher up in this AI company, sends her this AI to like, because it was meant to help her with the baby. And obviously it can't help her with that anymore, so it's like going to help her with the grieving. And she's like, I don't want to keep him, I don't like AI. But she promises her brother that she'll give him a chance, so she has this AI for a few days. And in that few days, all of this stuff happens. There's like, it's a bit like a crime story as well. So there was that. I am then getting rid of my book 2 and 3, I think this is, of the Thursday Murder Club series, because they're unclean. And I didn't love the stories enough to want to keep them. I'm keeping the first book though, because I did really like the first book. But I felt like the other 2 books, the story was never quite as good. And the only reason I kept reading it is because I love Joyce. I love Joyce. And I love Elizabeth, who are 2 of the characters in it. So I wanted to keep reading of them, but honestly, I'm done. I'm done now. I'm done. And yeah, they weren't clean. So there's that. In the Darkling Wood, this was a present from Beautiful Miriam, and we buddy read this, and we both DNF'd it because it was unclean. Super annoyed about it, especially since the cover is absolutely stunning, but it is time to go, so that one is leaving me. Then there is the Poppy War series, which you guys know how I feel about this. Go watch the review if you don't. I'm not even going to say, but trash. Then there is the Six of Crows duology, which I bought at the same time I was reading the Shadow and Bone series, because everyone was like, this one's even better. It's about thieves. And I thought I'd really like it because Mistborn's very similar to that. Like, it's about a gang of thieves and everything. But I started reading this. It didn't immediately hook me, so I was like, maybe it's just not the time for me right now. So I put it away. Then I read all of the Shadow and Bone series, and that last book in the trilogy is not clean, and that just made me livid. And now I don't trust this series. I don't want to waste my time on it, especially since it didn't hook me in the beginning. So I've decided I'm just gonna part ways with it. I'm just gonna part ways with it. So that is that. And then there is the Mortal Instruments book 1. I picked this up because I got it from an op shop. I thought maybe I'd read it because it's a bit like sci-fi fantasy-y. And it's like werewolves and people hunting demons and stuff. I have no idea if this is clean or not. I have no idea if it's good for Christians to read, but I thought I'd pick it up because it sounded semi-interesting. But again, I just never picked it up after that, and like I've had it for as long as I've had the Wicked book, so getting rid of it. And then there is this book which is called World End. I was super excited to read this, and I picked this up. I got it on an online bookshop because it was really cheap, and it was to do with dragons, and I was doing my creatures video at the time. But this is actually book 3. Didn't know that at the time. I do not care to invest more money into this series just to be able to read this one. So I am letting it go. Again, I got it so cheap that I will probably get money back off it anyway. Then there is Monstrous Heart. This book is about sea creatures and love, and it's meant to be a bit gothic in its style. I got this because a girl I went to school with recommended it on her Instagram, and she is not a Christian or anything, and I got this because the way she described it, it sounded super interesting. So I was like, I'll give it a go. Why not? Because she gave it like a 5 out of 5 stars. And then after I bought it, she continued to recommend other books to her, just like on her Instagram, to her friends and family. And the other books she recommended were not clean and quite bad. So I'm too afraid to read this actually. And I've had it for over a year now and I still have not been game. So I'm just like, okay, it's had its chance. It's going and that's okay. Super beautiful cover though. Like, look at that. That is awesome. Anyway, I'm getting rid of Prophet by Frank Peretti. It's purely because I have a second copy. I have a second copy. I got both of them from separate secondhand bookshops, but I prefer the edition I got. The other edition I got because it matches my other two in the series. So I'm just getting rid of this. It cost me like $2, so I will make money back off that one. And then there is All Flame. Read it, didn't love it, have done a review on it if you want to check it out. This is a Christian non-fiction. Then there is Lies of Locke Lamora, which you guys know, not a fan of. Not a fan. So getting rid of that, which is annoying because it was my Christmas present from my parents and I thought I'd love it, but I didn't. And then there's Corpse Rat King, which I think I also put that in the same video. I don't remember. And I got really bored with this really quickly. The concept was very cool. The execution, not great. So I DNF'd it. But I wouldn't say, at least the parts I read were clean, apart from a little bit of swearing. So there's that if you're interested. Then there is the Tad Williams that we were talking about before. This is the one that I did read, Shadow March. It was just too long, too drawn out. There were too many stories going on at once that he should have split it into 2 books, in my opinion. And not interested in reading the rest of the series. I think it was clean, but you'll have to check out my review because I can't remember. I don't think there was anything too bad in it. I don't know. I can't honestly remember. I put it out of my brain because I don't want to think about it anymore. And then finally there is The Looking Glass Wars, Seeing Red. I got this. This is a retelling of Alice in Wonderland. I got this because I thought this was the first book and it sounded really interesting. This is actually like book 2 or 3 of a series, and I know I'm not going to bother tracking down the rest. So I'm letting that go. Then there is Good Omens, which I never read. I never ended up reading. I bought this because everyone was raving about it, but I didn't actually know what it was about, apart from everyone was raving about it and everyone liked these authors. I now know that this is about like the devil and an angel or something to do with that, and I'm concerned it's a bit more of a mockery than anything else. I'm just not about that. So let me know in the comments below if that's true or not, if you've heard good or bad things about it in a Christian perspective. But it just doesn't appeal to me very much because I know neither of these authors are Christians and they're talking about Judgment Day, and I'm like, I can't see that going well. So I never picked it up. And then there is the Outliers. This cover has made me hold on to it for like 8 years maybe, I don't know. Look at this stunning cover. Oh my goodness. everything about this is pure perfection, and it's even got like foiling on the flame. I don't know if you can really see that on the camera, but it's beautiful. The colors, the everything. This, if you are ever like releasing a like dystopian-esque book, this right here, this should be your example. Anyway, this book is about this girl who can read minds, which makes her something called an outlier, and she's like under threat, but she's also like having issues with like interpersonal relationships because she knows what they're thinking and what they're saying about her. And obviously some things should be left in people's heads because you can't choose your own thoughts. They just happen sometimes, and that's why we think before we speak. But yes, I think I read it, or maybe like half read it, like almost when I first got it, and I've kept it thinking I would either reread it or I guess read it for the first time, but then it never happened. I also just realized there's a mark on it. Whoops. Don't know how that happened. But yes, I got it. I kept it purely for the cover, not because I loved the story, because obviously if I did end up finishing it, I don't even remember it. So it's not really worth keeping or having in my collection. But that is all the ones I'm getting rid of this time round. There will be more, obviously, as I read more of this, I will be unhauling more, but I haven't had a chance to go to the trade-in shop yet, so you can see the current collection. That's everything for this video though, guys. Let me know in the comments below if there is any content you want to see from me, like reminding me to let you know what's actually in my shelves, like how I sorted it, but that's how I sorted it. That was really helpful. So thank you for communicating those kind of things with me, because sometimes I space on stuff like that and I need you guys to remind me. So if there's any other content, any specific books you want me to read, any themed videos you want me to do, let me know in the comments below and I will endeavor to do that as soon as possible. But that's everything for this video, guys. I will see you guys in the next one, and have a great rest of your week. Bye.